Hey, what's up guys? This is going to be, actually probably you guys already heard about this, but in case you haven't, there is a new unit roster update as well as another DLC that came out, so it's going to be beefing up certain factions. So here I have all the factions laid out that are getting some new units. So the first one is going to be here, the Lusitani. They're going to be added, the Lusitani Swords of Women. So the main addition that you're going to be getting from the DLC is basically going to be warrior women, and so they added these to various units, and generally how it works out is you kind of sacrifice attack for defense and health and morale. So these warrior women are pretty cool, relatively useful. I'm going to start playing them in a couple battles just to feel them out. Sparta also does get these new sort of Gorgos skirmishers, women skirmishers who are helot slingers, and they do more damage. So I'm not sure about the historical authenticity of all these, but it's cool to finally get the women into the game. And Egypt, for instance, here gets these Kushite swordswomen. They have decent stats, and again, you'll be trading off sort of the attack for more defense. So that can be something that's good. And, you know, it's maybe, I don't think it's something, it's not like a pay-to-win DLC. I really don't think that's the case. You do get some pretty good units, but then also some of these units are going to come for free. So, for instance, the Suebi roster, who we'll be going over later. But also here, Rome was actually given 2 new gladiator units, which are going to be women gladiatrices, I guess is what they're calling them. Historically, I think there are a couple instances of women gladiators. Of course, that wouldn't have been very prevalent. But then again, you know, so is the fact that you wouldn't really have these gladiator regiments serving in the Roman army either. So having a completely woman gladiator element is really, you know, it's kind of on the same level as having a gladiator element serving in your army. So again, you can see the stats here trading them off. The women gladiators sacrifice a bit of attack, but you get in return a whole lot more armor. So that's a pretty good trade-off for those gladiators, because that's something that they had problems with before, was going to be their armor. Scythia also gets these 2 Amazonian riders. Historically, those are going to be, of course, Scythian riders who the women grew up just from a young age, just like the men, hunting and riding and fighting with horsebowmen. And so they're very skilled. You wouldn't have seen separate units, again, just like with Rome that I mentioned. They would have been more integrated with the male forces. Here you see them with longer range. That's just something CA is doing to make them more I don't know, interesting in terms of unit stats, but here they have more range, but they sacrifice a bit on melee stats again. And historically, you do have some tombs actually to warrior women out in the Scythian plain, so that's where we get the idea of the Amazonian warriors from, and it sort of grew into myth, and that's why the Amazon was named after them, after these warrior women. I'm not sure about the history behind that, but here's the main meat of the package of this update is going to be Suebi. They're given a huge group of units. Pretty cool. So a couple of just basic troops. What they do is they fill in the gaps between a bunch of the different units. So you get these hex warriors that I crossed over, and those are really cool. I've heard they have a sort of a war shout ability that does a lot of morale blows. Combine that with the fact that you can also have the berserk units, sword masters, and then these new swordsman units in between, and then you have the Cimbri bowwomen who do again more range than their counterparts but sacrifice a bit of the damage, and then the horse runners. I've tried fielding them in a battle, not noticeably different, but they do have better attack stats when they get up in melee, so assuming they don't get trampled, they'll be able to hold their own, at least a lot more than the standard units. Again, these hex bearers are really cool, using them in combination with the other forces. But yeah, here I'm going to show you a bit of the range. So before, you could only really choose from these Bloodsworn, which honestly kind of sucked. And then you had to jump between the Bloodsworn and all the way to the really expensive Swordmasters. So now at least we have some in between. So these Hexbearers are pretty small unit size, but they pack a punch. And then you have these Round Shield Swordsmen, who are relatively, you know, better. 30 extra cost to them, but I think it's a good trade-off. And then also you're going to have some additional swordsmen down here, so I'm going to put 2 of these guys just for reference. So the Spear Brothers there are the cheaper ones. Then once you go up, you're going to get this Shield Wall unit, which is or Spear Wall, excuse me, which is really cool. You can see the stats. It definitely boosts their melee defense, so those guys can hold up pretty long in melee. It's almost like a fat hoplite unit. And then the Spear Women right there, they're actually going to have more melee defense, armor, and health, although not quite as much boosted as the Spear Wall. So as I said, it's a good in-between where they're trying to boost the medium capacity of Suebi, and I think it's definitely what they were needing. And as opposed to the Night Hunters, Spearwomen do okay. You're not trading off too much difference in stats, but you save a lot of money in terms of investing in them. So I like the cost efficiency that they're allowing us to get away with. And then you take a look at some of the new cavalry that were given to the Suebi forces. So Riders of the Hunt, as opposed to just the Noble Riders, you can have Riders of the Hunt, which have some pretty good stats, pretty good charge, and then they reskin, I think, the Germanic Scout Riders. So overall, Suebi's looking a lot more powerful, a lot more doable, and I'm going to hopefully bring to you a couple more battles in the future as I play with these factions, start feeling them out, and we'll see sort of how these units play out. I'm sure they're going to need to balance some units like the Hex Bears, but overall it's a pretty welcome patch, especially the Breath of New Life that they brought to Suebi. I think they're much more viable now, and I did play a game that I'll be sharing with you soon, and you'll just see sort of how I'm able to play with those guys. Anyways, I'm going to transition now over to a quick battle. So now we're going to be going into a battle where I field a couple units. I'm playing against a player who seemed to be new, so I fast forward a little bit. His units are mostly stationary, but that's going to be fine. I'm just here to demonstrate a bit of the new units. So back there are going to be two of these gladiator forces that I had hidden in the back. He charged forward with his general, and we had sort of a gentleman's duel right in the center. And we're getting a little bit of a melee brawl, and the generals are holding up pretty well, actually. So 28 for my men, 29 for... No, that's my... Okay, so he's down 3 men, I'm down just 2 men. And then he's going to go ahead and retreat back. So I was hoping to maybe be able to dismount his general, but with the forces coming up here, I'm going to have to pull out. But yeah, I came out of that scuffle with 2 losses. He came out of it with 10 losses. So I got the best of that engagement, mostly because I got the charge. And here I am reforming and kind of allowing my guys to retreat past my men. So it was a small scale battle. My opponent went for the route of taking a lot of the Hastati forces. So a decent choice. So he has a lot of these really low cost units in the front. How many of those? 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. And in the back he has 2 Evocati. So that's a good move. He's going to kind of try and tire me out with a lot of these weak forces. I instead went for 3 of these Armored Legionnaires who are pretty good. They have pretty sizable stats. And of course, this is going to be kind of cool, fielding the late Empire troops against the early Republican troops. So this might be just a funny, interesting battle to watch outright. But here is going to be the most important thing that I want to show you, is I'm going to be augmenting my force with these female gladiators. They look pretty fearsome. Let's see if we can't follow these guys into battle. You can see they're definitely heavily armored, more so than the other gladiators that you would find. And yeah, we can see a little bit of them. We'll wait till they're in combat to just watch them, or maybe when they're stationary, when I can show you some of the skins. But they're definitely looking pretty interesting. There we go. Now we're getting an opportunity to get up close. So these guys are looking pretty badass, almost like the typical Legionnaires you'll see. They all have some high details, trying to make them look really frightening. A couple of them had war paint on. Yeah, one of the ones who ran in front of our screen. So these are some cool units to play with. Like I said, these guys are more costly than the male Legion gladiators, because you're getting a lot more armor and defense out of it. So I think that's what's useful in fighting against Roman Legionnaires is, you know, when they're going to be throwing their Pilla in that first charge, you definitely want to be able to absorb that, and then the gladiators come in with their high attack. But these guys are super badass. Anyways, my plan, seeing as my opponent outnumbers me, was to start just hooking around the flank. If he's not going to engage with me, I'm going to pull out. Mostly I was scared of his Pilla. He has so many troops that if he were to combine fire, he could just massacre, you know, all my units just with repeated charge and pulling back and charging and just dispensing of all his Pilla. So I was worried about that, but seeing as he said he was a new player, one of his first couple multiplayer battles, figured he wouldn't be using those tactics. So I'm just going to draw him out, try and engage him, trying to pick off his general and pull him off to that side. Let's kind of watch this clash here. So I pull back and he pulls back, so he knows that he can't really get the best of me, so he's just engaging with me in this little foreplay, I guess you could say, of the battle. And I'm mostly just waiting, and then over here I'm going to engage with his troops here. And just look at this mismatch between the 2 different time periods of Rome, duking it out, so you can see how the Lorica Segmentata looks compared to the early Legionnaires and what they're wearing, just the breast, the brass breastplate or whatever they're using. I can't quite remember. Even the shields are a little different, but my guys are really cutting into them. So basically what I'm doing is I'm charging and holding him on these 2 fronts. I'm going to come in through the back, and then this cavalry was just trying to distract his forces. But now let's watch some of the more impressive stuff that you guys are willing to see, which is going to be how do these gladiators perform. So against Hastati, oh, these guys are going to be murdering the Hastati because I have high stats, and Hastati are obviously just not very good troops. Let's see if we can get some cool kills. So we're going away, stabbing at them. There we go. This front is making some progress. It looks like these two gladiators in the front are just chopping away at their forces. So some pretty cool units. I think they have some decent versatility. It helps in the gladiator department, whereas before they're really sort of a risky thing to bring, mostly because they could just crumble in the face of a archer fire or something. But now that you have gladiators with heavy armor, they're functioning pretty well. Here I lost 20 men, but I killed a whole I don't know, stack of Hastati, I guess. And over here we're engaging Rome on Rome. It's a little confusing what's going on, but I have my armored legionaries here, and I just ignited one of my general's abilities. I took Caesar, so he's having like inspiration of Caesar's presence. So my guys are not going to be routing anytime soon, but we're basically here just to witness a little bit of the carnage. I know you guys love these close-ups. There we go. Watch a couple of those shots. Ooh. And yeah, I'm trying to get some of these gladiator kills for you. Let's zoom in on this lady here. So she's pretty fearsome. Has some corner rolls going on. Blood spattered on this huge arm guard. And hopefully we'll get a good exchange between these two right here. Come on. I wonder if they still have some of the animations where they kick him in the nuts. Or maybe they... Oh man, dude, I'm sorry. All the all the highlights I'm trying to bring you is my guys dying. Hopefully we'll get some good ones. But stat-wise, these guys should be performing better. I'm surprised. Yeah, see there we see a good kill on the left. Over here we'll probably see 2 kills. But yeah, I think they're a worthy investment. Definitely fill a niche in this in Rome's playstyle. But I think Rome is definitely not the one who needs the most patching. There's a lot of underpowered factions that could use a lot of help. Probably Iceni definitely needs some boosting. I really like what they did with Suebi. So I'll be doing a battle where I play a Suebi against Rome. Hope you guys will enjoy that. But I think they're much more viable and definitely much more fun to play. So that'll be it for this quick engagement. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys consider purchasing the DLC. It's interesting units, but my final conclusion will be it's not really necessary. And all the Suebi stuff comes for free. So, you know, you're not really missing out on much. But anyways, I'll see you guys out on the battlefield. Thanks so much.